Well, I believe worship is a lifestyle. I don't think it's, a lot of people, I feel they think maybe it's the 15 or 20 minutes on that Sunday morning, and that's being in the presence of God. I believe that worship can be, you can be in God's presence anytime. It says in the Bible where if 2 or 3 gather in His name, He's in the midst of us. So I believe that you can gather with friends, you can have worship services at your house, you can just be in God's presence all the time. But worship to me is just walking into a room and saying, hey, it's all of you and none of me, and what can I do for you? Having a servant's heart, worshiping God with all of our actions throughout our day. You know, somebody cut you off in traffic, you glorify God and say, Lord, hey, have mercy. You know what I mean? Well, for starters, I always ask God, and this is every time before we go on, I always get away from the team and I say, God, I just want it to be all of you and none of me. And when I step on that stage, if I ever try to do it in my own strength, I don't want to do it any longer. And it's been pretty incredible because we've had just unbelievable services where God will just fall and people will just fall under the power, and there'll be healings and testimonies. And we'll say as a team, like, yeah, it was good. I mean, we played okay. And we won't even feel musically like it was the best night we ever had, but the testimonies that come in from these specific nights, it's just God shaking things up a little bit and saying, hey, even though it didn't go perfect in your mind, I still showed up and moved, because God says in His Word that He inhabits the praises of His people and that He abides in the praises of His people. So if we gather right there together and glorify His name, He's going to show up. Well, just diving in the Word of God, it says in John, if we remain in His love, He'll give us a joy that makes us complete. So I'll just dive in His Word in the mornings. I'm better in the morning, so I'll get up and pray early and just seek God and say, Lord, what do you want me to do today? Lead somebody across my path today that I can take your glory to and your presence to. And before churches and before trips, I always ask God, just to kind of reveal to me as the leader of the team, the direction of the service. Because, you can go song to song to song and put your 30-minute set in, but in the moments where God shakes it up and you stay on one song for 30 minutes and people are just hungering and thirsting for what God has, those are the moments that shake up your practice time and the time that you had your agenda set. We always go in and we have like a set list, but I always tell the guys, hey, we have no agenda. We serve an audience of one. We're only here to worship along with the people. So let's just go out there and just show them that God's glory will show up when we come wholeheartedly into His presence. I think we all can have experiences. I mean, I think you can light a candle and play an acoustic guitar and have an experience with God. It has to come back where they have an encounter with God. I had an encounter with God when I was around the age of 18, 19, to the point where I knew from that point on that I couldn't go back. Now, in the midst of it, I made mistakes, and just life. But I never could shake the encounter I had with Him. And I believe in the modern day, being relevant, being progressive, the modern church movement, everything that's happening right now, I believe that in the midst of all the drama and confusion and adversity and opposition that we face in an everyday, I know in high school nowadays, or like even the college level, like there's so much more distractions and there's so many more things that can keep your focus turned away from God. But I believe that if you do, like I said in John, where it says, I am the vine, you are the branches, and it says, if any man remains in me and I in him, the only way we can remain in God's love is by diving in His Word. The only way you can know God's voice and the only way you can have an intimate relationship with God and have that encounter with Him is if you're in His Word. Because what happens is in the midst of frustration, in the midst of the world bombarding you and trying to overcome you, you have two options. You can trust God or you can freak out. And I believe that if we are remaining in His love and He is remaining in us and we're abiding in Him and He's abiding in our praises, I believe that in the midst of it, you're not going to have a desire to go the world's route, but you're going to say, you know what, God, I'm going to be different. I'm going to set the standard. I'm going to shake this off, and I'm going to worship You. If I'm the only one worshiping, I'll still worship You.